All right, Barry White, good morning. Welcome into Wingin It Wednesday. Brought to you by Service Cadillac. Hey, by the way, you could still buy my car. Carol.
It's right there.
I have a 2017 white Cadillac XT5. Every option you can imagine.
Is that the small one?
It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's perfect for you. It's fast.
He is not.
That's all you have to tell Carol.
About it.
All you have to do is tell Carol that it's fast and it's dangerous. She's all about it. You know? She's not anyway. Good morning, guys.
But I'm
How are you?
a very defensive driver.
Yes, she's a good driver, but she likes to go fast.
Well, isn't that what the cars are for?
I don't know, Ricky Bobby, maybe so.
You know, when they put in the four harness seatbelt in your car, they were trying to tell you something. That's the truth. All right. So the president already tweeting this morning in support of his son, gave an interview last night to Sean Hannity on Fox News, saying, look, if I were to do it again, I would have done it differently, but at the time I thought I was doing nothing more than opposition research. Guys, do you chalk this up to this just being, again, we know the Trumps weren't politicians before. Maybe they didn't know they shouldn't have emails about it. And what is it? Anyway, Warren, we'll start with you this morning.
In regards to the Donald Trump Jr. deal, is that what we're discussing?
That's what we're starting on, yes.
My point on that is it's a whole bunch of to-do about nothing. It's an ongoing deal of the same old thing. My God Almighty, I go back to what I said earlier when they wanted to have an investigation on the Russia collusion. I said, that's fine. Let's lay it all out. If we're going to have any kind of an investigation, let's investigate all of it. And let's go back about 20 years as to everything that we have done, everything that they have done, and let's have it. And what I said we needed to do then, and I still say we need to do it, but the Republicans are too spineless and gutless in Washington to do it, is that we should have had them in there and said that the first person sitting at that witness table who says, I can't discuss that because it's classified, stand up, put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail. You know, this stuff is so outrageously portrayed as being serious that it's not even funny. We have meddled in every election everywhere in the world. We continue to do it. We have entire departments that do that. You think that the former Soviet Union didn't do that? I mean, it goes back for decades where they were funneling money into anti-war groups in the United States and different groups that were trying to push civil unrest. They were giving aid to different candidates. Khrushchev told Kennedy after the election, he said, when I did whatever it was, he said, I did that to help you win. Do you think the Russians didn't sit there and do what most of these politicians do, is that they support both people? You think they weren't also telling Hillary, we're going to support, or telling her people, we got some stuff here for you, you're our gal. They didn't have to do it publicly because they already owned her, and Hillary says, they do not want me. Really? Are you that ignorant to think that we're supposed to actually believe that when they own you? All they had to do was to give your husband $500,000 to make a speech and promise some more money to you, and you sold them, 20% of the uranium to build bombs with? Really? And then we're sitting there talking about the deal with them, with us, with Ukraine. My God Almighty, I would expect the Trump campaign to be associated with most anybody in the world. You're getting ready to, you're vying for the most powerful office in the world. Everybody in the world has a stake in who won this election. Why wouldn't they meet with people? Did any of this ever materialize? The President of the United States said there is no way that Russia can interfere with our election. Period. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Remember that? Yeah? And what happens now? Oh, they must have interfered. Oh, there was collusion. Oh, they interfered. There was collusion. There's been a lot of collusion. With that administration, with his former Secretary of State, with her replacement, John Kerry. There has been a world of collusion. But do we hear anything about that? Absolutely not. But let's go back to 2008 election. You remember all of that? The Middle Eastern money pouring in there? the Middle Eastern money pouring in, the money over the internet pouring in.
Laundered.
And people were saying, where's the money coming from? We don't know. You know, well, we were supposed to be able to track every dollar that goes into those campaigns, right? By federal law, right? Remember that? We're supposed to be able to know that stuff. And what happened? Oh, we don't know. Oh, we don't know. Well, that's okay. They don't need to know. They don't need to know. You know, I'm sure that the Russians opposed Bernie Sanders because Bernie wants them to go back to being a socialist country. And I think that they kind of enjoy the aspect now that they do. They are more free market capitalist country, and people are enjoying freedoms and all of that. I'm sure they were not in favor of Bernie for that reason. And the only reason they would have been in favor of Hillary because they knew that Hillary would have no effect on what happens inside Russia.
Okay, so Warren, you're probably out of the running to be the next White House press secretary, but that's okay. The White House saying there's no collusion. Warren saying everybody's colluding. It's just kind of common practice. Carol, your thoughts?
Well, Hillary would have had an effect on the Russian economy because she would have shut down fracking in every way that she could have. And that is what the Russians really are upset about. What's their only real marketable commodity on the world stage, and that's their oil and gas. And once that's shut down, they look at the collusion that actually did go on with the green energy, quote-unquote, groups in order to shut down fracking because he didn't want anybody competing with him on the world stage. Now he's got serious problems. So Putin is the master manipulator. He is destabilizing as much as he can the Trump administration. And he's getting help from Republicans and Democrats because they don't like Trump either because he's upsetting their little red wagon. But the key element, the key thing that I saw in one of the Fox stories was nothing, absolutely nothing was done in the emails. Nothing came out of the meeting. It was nothing. It was in every campaign, and I've said it before, you will have people coming up to you and they will say, and I've seen it from the inside and the outside, I have some information that is just going to be a blockbuster and blah, blah. And it could be something, it might be something. On the other hand, it could be them trying to position themselves as indispensable to the campaign in order to have some favor if that person wins. There are all sorts of shenanigans that go on in campaigns. It doesn't mean that anything was illegal or, for God's sake, impeachable, for heaven's sake.
So
Maxine Waters, of all people, who should have been thrown out on her butt during that the housing thing, you know, with the way she and her husband colluded, she was done with 3 counts by the ethics committee, but we know how toothless they are in the House. And she's the first one I saw screaming impeachment, 2 months after the president was elected. What a bunch of weasels. That's all I can say is they're all a bunch of weasels, and that's why Trump was elected, because they're sick of the weasels up there. And Trump is trying to get something done. And I will tell you this, while all of this churning is going on the other side, Trump is getting some major things done. He's not getting any help from Congress for sure, but he's getting as much done as he can through the power of his office, and thank goodness he is, and all I can say is I hope he disrupts even more. There is so much more that needs to be disrupted, and every darn time something like this happens, you can just reliably schedule John McCain and Lindsey Graham. We'd have to get to the bottom of this. This is just the only person they beat to the mic and the camera is Chuck Schumer.
So, Carol, what's done?
What's done?
What everything? Because health care's not passed, the wall's not being built.
My point exactly.
Those are the 2 biggest things.
What is being done?
You just said Trump got so much stuff
order,
done.
He's getting regulations in line. He's getting a lot of executive orders out there that he can do. They're about to bounce back net neutrality, which is not at all as benign as it seems. There are a whole bunch of things that he has done. The border, I mean, look, the flow of immigration has stopped even before the border wall. He is doing, I think, a lot of things. He's doing as much as he can do to get through the power of his office. He's appointing judges. Numero uno, in my opinion, get those federal judges appointed. But what are the Democrats doing? Slow walking every judicial appointment. Now, he was a little bit slow out of the block, out of the gate. But he is caught up now, and they are stonewalling everything because they know the long term is you get that judiciary straightened out, that federal judiciary and the Supreme Court, we have a shot at getting this country turned around.
Warren, what do you make of the Republicans who were huge Trump supporters and even in the last couple weeks questioning whether these big things will actually get done.
Who are the Republicans who are huge Trump supporters that you're talking about?
One.
I'm not talking about politicians. I'm talking about average Joe people, voters.
I have not met one yet who says that I'm disappointed in Trump. I've had people ask me over and over and over, so you still like your man Trump? And my answer is absolutely. And you just ask Carol, what has he done? Jobs are down. You know, the unemployment rate's down. Jobs are coming back. You got industries out there now talking about expanding. You got industries out there talking about they're no longer going to leave the United States. I think you have an array of optimism out there that we haven't seen in a long, long time. And I think we go back. I keep wanting to go back to the dark ages of history. Go back to the Ronald Reagan's early days when we went from that era of there is a malaise in this country of that the people's fault. That
18 to 20% interest rates.
Care.
Does anybody
they
remember
just
that?
Blah, blah, blah. We went from there to being there is a bright day tomorrow. You know, we went from there to optimism. Believe in this country. Believe in yourself. Let's get together and work as a team and get things done.
And
that's what I see happening today.
And sorry, gang, Western civilization is the way to go because it gives more people more freedom, more individual choice. Yes, more responsibility, but darn it, you know, that's what comes along. The price of being a free person, able to pursue your dreams and your hopes. Trump's speech in Warsaw was magnificent. Just magnificent.
Absolutely.
Echoes of JFK and Reagan. JFK in Berlin. And Reagan anywhere. Reagan in his bedroom
everywhere.
Was better than Obama.
Wingin It Wednesday brought to you by Service Cadillac each and every week. We're back to continue the conversation next.
Hold on.
All right, a new health care bill is expected to come tomorrow, and we'll see what Republicans can do, as you have some in D.C. that say, now it's time to start working with our counterparts across the aisle to make this work. Carol, your thoughts?
Wasn't Bigfoot spotted the other day in the Atchafalaya Basin? Let's see, a health care bill. Where's that Yeti I've been looking for? Well, could be, could not be. Who knows? At this point, who knows? But I think that they are making some, probably some very good changes. And I understand some of the things that I've read online by some of the analysts that I trust. Believe that some of the amendments that are being put on there, like the Cruz Amendment and some others, are actually improving the bill right now. So what they need to do is get back to what was the original intent. Bring the premiums down, get the government out of your health care. If they can solve those two things without damaging Medicaid too much. Now look at this is the real stickler, right? We want to phase out Medicaid over 6 years. No, we want to phase it out over 3 years. No, you know, that's really the thing, because what's Medicaid? For a lot of people, that expansion, it hit people who can afford their own health care. If Obamacare goes away, they'll have more affordable premiums because they won't have the mandate. So they'll be able to afford their health care. I mean, these things, I think the statistics I saw, it pushed it up to, family of four making $98,000 qualified, and didn't even have to be a family of four. If you're an able-bodied adult, you don't even have to have kids or anything like that. You don't really have to have any demonstrable disability. You can get Medicaid. You know, I'd like to track the chart of opioid addiction and the Medicaid expansion. I mean, I know opioid addiction's been going on for some time, but a lot of people are taking advantage of Medicaid. That was not what the intent was, to help people or to have people to insure people that were not disabled or very, very poor and could not get help any other way. Now they've expanded it to include just about anybody, and so what? The whole thing's going to collapse. That's been the big sticking point. And these people who go demonstrating at these town hall meetings have no clue what they're demonstrating about, because nobody knows what the final content of that bill is and won't know until it goes to a conference committee and comes out of there. But I think they have got to this is the make or break for this Congress. You will see a bloodbath in 2018. I promise you that, because I'm going to be leading the charge. If they don't get this thing fixed, they promised us for 7.5 years, knowing full well Obama would veto it. And they kept passing bill after bill. In 2015, they passed a clean bill, unanimous support, sent it to Obama. Well, we knew he was going to veto it. Well, now take that same bill back, negotiate some along, some of the things that are really the sticking points. Nobody before Obamacare or since Obamacare is going to be denied medical care.
What about
nobody?
I think I even texted you during your show on Friday. I'm trying to remember. Was it Pat Toomey in an interview that said the reason we don't have anything is because we didn't expect Trump to win?
Well, yeah, he's another one of those weasel Republicans. He's from my home state of Pennsylvania. He's got to say those things if he wants to get real. See, that's what they don't understand. Don't P.O. your base. As my friend would say, the base is in a high state of pissivity over these Republicans.
All right, Warren, if you could follow that up. Or you could just say pass.
No, really, I mean, you don't irritate your base to the extent that they're ready to just stay home. That's what happened in so many elections before. Conservatives did not see any option out there for them, and they stayed home. I think that's what the problem is going to be in 2018.
Another one of those things about the political isms is don't prove your negatives. And I think that's another thing that the Republicans stand really, really up there getting ready to do, is that you said, we handed you all of this, we gave you everything you wanted, and you did nothing. And then they're going to come back here and run again, and they're going to say, well, you need to reelect me because I did nothing. And that,
what's the selling point, right?
Yeah, that's their
From
selling
a marketer
point.
standpoint.
But the other part of it is, get in there and get something done. It's not rocket science. Just sit down and just try to get something done. And that there are plenty of people in there that on both sides, if you sit down and say, look, we need to try to get this thing one way or the other. But the big problem we run into is that so many of that bunch up there, they don't want to touch it. And I'm talking about both Democrats and Republicans. Because, well, if you vote this way, then it may not be able to spin it well back home. And if I vote for it, I may not be able to spin that. And if you vote against it, we may not be able to spin that. And so, when it just comes down to it, that they're incapable of doing right. And they sit there and they got all these people around them who put out their press releases of what they're doing. Well, we're getting money to build a bike trail over on the south side of Opelousas, and we're getting money to put a new slide over at a certain school, and we're getting money to put a flower garden over in this place, and on and on. And that's what, we're doing that. We're doing that, What in the hell are you doing to help everybody? Well, we built a flower garden, we got a school slide, So anyway, they just sit there and want to play these political games, throwing a softball back and forth, and get these goons up there on the floor, talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Well, one of the big sticking points that I know of is the conservatives want to do away with the horrible taxes associated with Obamacare, and the moderates, well, they want to hold on to those taxes.
And the problem is that group you're talking about, they love taxes. And they love regulations, and they love control, but they're going to sit there and say they don't.
No, the Freedom Caucus.
I'm talking about those mainstream Republicans
the
who sit there and say we're for less government, we're for less spending. Well, how did you vote? Well, I really didn't have a choice. We sort of had to vote that way, and so anyway.
It really isn't rocket science. I mean, they're pretty, I think they're pretty close. I don't know if it'll come out tomorrow. I don't know when it'll come out, but I think they're pretty close, and they know. I think they're getting the message now. I know I've urged people on my show, call, email. There are so many easy ways to get in touch with your senators, and the very idea that a Louisiana senator would be on a bill with a senator from Maine is just beyond me. I mean, how is he representing his constituents? I'm sorry, Bill Cassidy. He's been a big disappointment.
All right, it is 7:38 now. Wingin It Wednesday brought to you by Service Cadillac. Hey, listen to this deal. 2017 Cadillac CTS, my car. CT6, my future car. XDS, my boss's car. 0%
He's driven every one of them.
For 60 months and a $1,500 rebate for all in stock 2017 CTS, CT6, and STX. Must finance through GM Financial with approved credit, obviously, plus tax, title, and license. That offer good through the end of the month. It's summer's best on all remaining 2016 Cadillacs in stock. There are some great deals to be had over there at Service Cadillac 1212 and 1214 Ambassador Caffrey near the interstate. Hey, it's also Wash It Up Wednesday at the Wash. Let me tell you, rainy afternoon, I know what they say. Maybe don't get your car washed if it's raining because you're going to, knock stuff up onto your car. You're going to get kind of dirty. Well, when you have the monthly membership and it doesn't cost you every time you go, you can pop in anytime. When you're waiting for the pool, this is from True Life Story. When you're waiting for the pool to open because lightning shut it down, what do? Bring the kids to get a car wash. It's great. It's perfect over at Wingin It Wednesday.
You let your kids play in the car wash.
I don't play in there, but at least not when it's
in there.
At least
not
when it's
getting their eyes.
Not when it's lightning.
But they like those brushes.
You guys will just always rag me, no matter what. And if you must know, the kids are really big on knowing their colors. Okay, they have these lights inside of the wash that makes the soap appear to be different colors. So what do we play? Orange, blue, purple, pink, orange.
Good.
It's great. It's educational.
Yeah,
it takes some time, and my car ends up clean.
And Daddy has a flashback of the times he used to go see Fantasia and maybe smoke that funny cigarette.
7:45 at News Talk 96.5 KPL. By the way, today National Pecan Pie Day, so I think
that's a good day.
Reason enough to go find some pecan pie somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We do have so many good.
I'm gonna have lunch at the Petroleum Club. I know they got some good.
Well, there you go.
Ooh.
Bernie, we should go
yummy.
too. Anyway,
I already have a date. I'm sorry.
Oh my. Okay.
Well, Rob,
and you're not it. You know what?
Find
you and your
them.
little friends never invite me to the cool kids lunch. So the
They
old
don't.
lady.
It's called a lunch meeting.
Oh,
no,
man.
No, it's the cool kids lunch. He lies and says it's a lunch meeting. So I went and found my own friends.
Okay.
well, you're missing out because Bernie's a heck of a lot of fun.
I know she is.
Don't you just hate being ignored by your friends?
He's like, hey, man, that's a stretch. She's not my
That was
friend.
bothering you today, Bippy. Well, cheer up.
This is pick on Rob Day.
I mean, gosh, I already have a headache.
Aren't you glad you got out of bed?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's going to be a great day today.
You want a Vicodin?
Wasn't the subject this morning opioid abuse? Didn't I hear that? Oh, my gosh, Warren.
Research.
Now my stomach
Research
hurts.
for the news story with that. Hey, we saw this morning, watched a couple interviews and read some about the folks up in Evangeline Parish preparing for possible protests after the officer-involved shooting that happened. A lot of different accounts. We seem to be hearing more and more. We heard from state police yesterday a little bit of what happened. The arrest affidavit has been made public. It's out there, kind of what led up to it, which seems to me like, a pretty good move that, state police is not waiting for this big, arbitrary date to release all this stuff, and so people can kind of follow it as it's happening. Is there a way to get out in front of this, Warren? You have a situation like this. It's unfortunate. Someone died in the situation. There was another person who was arrested. They have since been released. But at the end of the day, could, play a role in this whole thing. How do we deal with this?
I think it's multifaceted, that there's two sides to every story, and generally there's more than two sides to every story. And some of the things, you bring out like body cameras and, calling backups and more of a police presence in certain areas and whatever, and that, what can you do? I just think that we need to take a holistic approach to the whole thing, and I think there's a lot of things where it's deep-seated. One of them is that you look at the number of people we have locked up in jail for nonviolent crimes, and which comes down to most of it is smoking weed, and you go into some of these neighborhoods where that you've got people put in government housing, and that we put 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 in jail with, on and on and on a continuous basis. And then pretty soon that the only thing, you got the worst education system in the world that you run them through, something like the New Orleans public school system. And, You know, and then you turn around and the only job they can get is selling weed. You know, and then to selling weed to, you know, you become a businessman or a businesswoman, then you sell more, and then you're going to go to the selling the powder and the little white rocks and all of that stuff, you know, and so then you get the big cars and whatever, and then the police are always in there, you know, to search and frisk or whatever. But, you know, it's a two-pronged deal, I think. One is that the police used to be the neighborhood friend. You know, are they today? To a certain extent, yes. You know, and I do think that sometimes we get a little bit over trigger happy, which I don't think. I know you watch some of these videos where people have been shot for no reason. One of them was where the guy was getting his insurance papers out of the car over in South Carolina, I think, and the trooper killed him. And, you know, I mean, you watch it on the video, and he said, "I'm going to get my insurance papers out of there," you know. And anyway, I don't know what the answer to the thing is. I just know that we need to do a few more things and be proactive. And one of the things I think we really need to do is that on any of these situations, the best thing they can do is to back off and get back up before they pull the gun and start popping caps. And, you know, and the second thing about it is, you know, are you really threatened? You know, well, I thought he was going for a gun. You know, well, if you weren't, you know, if you'd backed off just a little ways, then you might have seen that there one. And I also think there needs to be a lot more training for police on how to de-escalate a bad situation.
You know, I will say this here in Lafayette, new police chief Toby Aguilar, that's been one of his big pushes, these neighborhood walks, you know, going door to door. And you know what? They say that overwhelmingly they're accepted. You know, I mean, they're welcomed.
Yes, they are. Well, who lives in the high crime areas? Of course they're accepted, but that's a practice that went back to Jim Craft. I had a couple of conversations. I mean, he gets out. That was their whole modus operandi for years, to get out into the community and let the people see them and know them. And one thing that struck me is you see in Lafayette Parish, you get a lot of help from the community. They solve a lot of crimes with tips from the community, because who has to live in that situation? It's the community out there in those high crime neighborhoods, and they have to live with it. We don't have to live with it. They do. And so they're happy to have, I think, a police presence when they need it. Now, in this particular story, there are 3 different versions out there now. Not 1, not 2, but 3. The policeman who told his story of, you know, having Mr. Guillory on the ground, and when he went to handcuff him, that's when Guillory just got really upset and started struggling and fighting him. And when that happened, the woman, according to the policeman, jumped on his back and started beating him and biting his neck and all that sort of stuff, right? And she went for his gun. That's according to the policeman, right? The woman tells a different story, and her lawyer just came out with a different story. Now there are 3 different stories, 2 of them from her and her lawyer. So I think we should all wait until what the dash cam shows, what his body camera shows, and what the Louisiana State Police investigation shows. Because quite often these things, look at Michael Brown. I won't even go into Alton Sterling, because I think that's still, you know, up in the air as to what really happened there, because of the angle on the cameras. That they really couldn't tell. But look at Michael Brown. There's so many things that start these kinds of movements, irrational movements, that people don't even know the facts, you know, hands up, don't shoot. That never happened. But look what's happening as a result.
Wingin It Wednesday brought to you every week by Service Cadillac. Always an insightful conversation. Always good to get you guys together and talk to you some of these issues. We'll be back, of course, next week. Again, Warren Caudle and Carol Ross, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is 7:53. Go Cajuns. And we'll have Carol this afternoon on the Ross Report at 2.
Yes, 2 to 4 this afternoon. We're going to try to, we're trying to contact the folks who are doing the Brian Pope recall. Hopefully we'll get an update from them as to what's going on. And by the way, if you, let me think. If you saw the Independent, they went out with a bang. ABIZ sent out something yesterday about the Independent getting the integrity award or some kind of major award from the Louisiana Press Association for that particular story, for the Brian Pope
the
investigation,
for the
series.
Investigation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
It was a major award.
Have you heard whether or not it might come back in some form? The Independent, I mean?
I don't think the Independent. I think ABIZ, they said, has been suspended. Independent shut down. They will continue to follow those two stories, though, Brian Pope, because they still have, I think, litigation involved there, and also they have litigation involved in the Candace Perrette. They're still trying to unseal the records in New Orleans. Now, one of the records was unsealed by accident. I have a copy of it. They have a copy of it. Everybody has a copy of it. But the other ones are still sealed, and so they're going to continue to pursue those two stories. But I want to congratulate them. They did really excellent work on that Brian Pope story and on the Candace Perrette story, and hopefully we'll be able to get an update on at least the Brian Pope situation.
All right.
Thank you, Carol.
The Ross Report this afternoon, 2 to 4, followed by the Offsides guys, Brandon Como and Shannon Wilkerson with your comments and your calls.
And we'll remind them about the United Blood Services Race Against the Clock tomorrow and Friday and getting people to give blood.
Mitzi Bro will be in as well this afternoon.
I got to do it. I'm going to do it.
All right,
yes!
It's 7:55.
We're all going to be there then. We'll hold hands and donate together.
Coming up, Katie Hebert from UHC, the CEO, to talk about the new urgent care clinic geared towards Medicaid patients.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
First in our area. Stay with us.